So, the very start of our camping trip is our camping site that we've picked up. Unfortunately, our first preference was taken. As you can see, we haven't set up anything yet, but we're right on the creek, so that's pretty awesome. Creek access is good. It's going to be our fridge as well. We'll be able to put our drinks and stuff in the creek and it'll keep it cold. It's pretty exciting. And we've got a fire pit over here as well, where we can cook up some beer damper and stuff and have a bit of a fire to sit around when it gets a bit darker. And it's pretty good. I was hoping there'd be a bit more grass that we could like set up our tents and stuff on, but we've got a pretty flat area. I think we've set up our tent over here. But for now, since we've only just got here and we're both starving, we have some pies and sausage rolls and some beers to have just to kick things off, and then we'll get to work setting things up. But I'm pretty excited to get started up and keen to get out of here. Tychus is checking out the smell on the bird pool must be. So here we are at the creek just below our campsite that I showed you guys a little bit earlier. Pretty beautiful, really nice place. Some of these little hidden areas in amongst the trees are very cool, very chill. As you can see, you might be able to see it from the distance there. There's a bit of a retaining wall that it sort of raises the depth of the creek just there. So there's sort of like a nice little area to go for a bit of a swim, a bit of a dip. So maybe we'll do that a little bit later. It's pretty freaking cold though. So that brings me to the next point. Direct your eyes down here. How do you think Mother Nature keeps her beer and snags cool? Well, she uses Mother Nature's fridge, the creek. Seriously, this water is colder than your fridge, so these beers are going to be nicely chilled and those sausages are going to be nice and cold until we're ready to cook them up later tonight. So there's a few ways you can do this. This is obviously the easiest way. I was originally wanting to go for a more complex sort of like hang it from a tree log with rope and a bag, hanging in the creek, but we just went for the more practical route. Basically just set some river rocks up, make sure that nothing's going to wash away, and sit your stuff in there. You know, keep the bits you don't want in the water out of the water, so hands and stuff, but everything stays in there. It stays nice and cold. You can put some rocks on things to keep them down and keep them nicely chilled, and then you can enjoy whenever you want. Pretty good stuff. And it gets pretty hot here in Australia. It was a pretty hot day today, so having a nice cold beer, even when you're out camping, is pretty exciting stuff.
How are your feet feeling?
Cold, but it's not unpleasant.
No, the first section was cold. This is better.
Look at that pose. Hey buddy, you been enjoying camping? Oh yeah, oh yes, oh yes. Had lots of good swings and running across the log. So we've finally set up our camp now, so enjoying with a nice cold non-alcoholic beverage, since we're on YouTube and all. We've got our tent set up over here, which is actually a bit of a story behind that tent. What's that tent to you, Ames? Go on.
It's a survival shelter.
Survival shelter for your trip around Greece, right?
Yes.
So
it's a summer tent. It's very flimsy.
Well, I think it's pretty sturdy, and just because it has a stick holding up the flap. But that's the tent that's been all around the world, really. So into the Mediterranean at least, and Australia, which is pretty much all around the world. We've got our tent set up. We've got our little station there with our utensils and stuff. A little jug of water, and we've set up and harvested the firewood for our fire. We had to do quite an adventure to be able to get that firewood. Travelled far and wide to find any logs, really. There's just like no wood around here, just like little sticks and twigs and stuff. So that was a bit of an adventure. Kind of reminded me of playing Age of Empires 1 when you send your little workers out to harvest the wood. I'm a nerd. But that's our massive stash of firewood there. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
I think we need a comparison. Stand next to it. Or Tychus, get him with the wood.
There we go. Comparing to Tychus size, the stash of wood isn't so big. But hopefully that'll get us through the night. Stash up this, and I've pulled the log around. We've got our chairs set up, and we'll start cooking some snags soon. We'll go retrieve those out of the lake, and they'll be nice and fresh and ready.
What a lake.
Creek, lake, whatever. I'm so un-Australian sometimes. But yeah, it's gonna get dark soon. We probably won't be able to make any videos when it's dark, but maybe tomorrow we'll do some cooking videos or something, make some beer damper at some point. Should be pretty fun. Hey Poppy, you've had your dinner, haven't you? And as you can see, we're cooking our dinner here on the old gas mate, or usually we call them the Weber, don't we?
No, Webers are different.
Webers are different, okay. I'm just used to calling them a Weber. Well, this is a gas mate. We're going to light the fire once it starts to get a bit darker, since we really don't have that much firewood. So, as you can see, I've cooked up some Cajun potatoes there. Sort of channeling my American friends here from YouTube by getting the Cajun flavouring out of it. Cajun seasoning. It's pretty good stuff. I'm a fan of the Cajun potatoes. If you Americans did one thing right, it's Cajun. Cajuns are pretty good. So I'm cooking up the snags here. They're going pretty well. This pan's doing pretty well. I've been deglazing the pan with a bit of beer, like as is the Australian way. So let's go ahead and deglaze that pan a little bit with the. Yeah, you might not be able to hear me over the top of that. That's pretty cool. Well, you get a nice sort of beer batter sort of going on there. A bit of beer flavouring on the sausages. Pretty nice stuff. Pretty Australian. Oh, look at that. Look at that beer deglaze. Isn't that is beautiful. That's Cajun seasoning mixed with beer, mixed with sausage. You can't really go wrong with that. So those will finish up, and I'll chuck the potatoes back in for a bit of a reheat, and then we'll crack out the bread, get some butter on it, bit of tomato sauce, or dead horse as the Australians call it sometimes. Homemade tomato sauce, no less. Pretty good stuff. And we'll have some chip and sausage sandwiches, and then the sausages that are left over for tomorrow, I plan on making sort of like a tomato base and then slicing the sausage up and having it inside the tomato sauce. So I'm using like crushed tomatoes and stuff, some garlic and some onion, and then I'll even poach some eggs in the tomato. And we might either do that for lunch or for dinner tomorrow, and that'll be pretty yummy, I think. It'll use up the rest of the sausages. Maybe I'll throw a few more potatoes in there as well, and have this sort of nice, almost Italian, almost Indian. I love potatoes. Potatoes are good. Boil and mash them, stick them in a stew. So that's our camping cooking going on for now. It should be getting dark pretty soon. The sun's just about to set, but it is. Man, I'm having a lot of fun doing this. What a badass tree. So we're going to be making some beer damper now. It's about probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon now, so very cruisy part of the day where you just kind of want to sit down and have some sort of lunch. So we've got like our golden syrup and stuff, and we're going to make some beer damper, which is essentially just a rough bread, but it's a good bread that you can make camping. And really the only ingredients you need are flour and beer, so whatever beer you like, and just not a huge amount of it. 1 stub is usually enough, and a bit of salt too. Actually, I might have to go grab some salt for the mix, but that's not a huge deal. Basically just like 2.5 cups, so you can just roughly measure it. Whatever amount of flour in there, so I might go like 1/3 of the bag. We'll make a good amount, and we can just use however much we need to make our little things. Looks like I might be about 1/3 of the bag there. And all you need to
Self-raising flour.
Self-raising flour, yeah, that is important. Ties scaring off any potential invaders. Any potential enemies. I'm getting covered in flour. So make a bit of a well in the middle, and we'll crack out our beer. Which you don't want this to be too cold. So we've had this one out of the creek for creek. Now I'm worried about saying the wrong thing. We've had this one out of the creek for a while, so it's warmed up a bit. And it's like to every 2.5 cups is about 175 mils, but you kind of just want to have an amount in there to make it wet, and you'll be able to tell once you start mixing it. So I'm just going to start mixing in there. You can use a stick if you don't have any utensils. I'm just using a knife. Just start folding that in there until it sort of all turns into a dough, and try and make like a reasonably wet dough, and then you can just add more flour to it depending on how you want to cook it. So in actually how you cook it, there's a few different ways you can go about it. The very traditional way, which we were going to do originally, but we're going to go the easier, fun way. You getting attacked by bugs? Smoke?
The heat.
Oh, the heat from the fire. Yeah, the fire's raging. We're trying to burn it down at the moment. You okay? Do you want to move?
I'm fine. Go on.
So the ways of cooking this, the very traditional way, I'm going to need more beer, got lots of flour I think, is to actually like burn a fire right down, then to have the ash, sort of like make a smooth spot in the ash, put the dough in there just in a big ball, then cover it in ash and leave it there for like an hour or half an hour depending on how hot the fire is, and then you just pull it out, dust the ash off and like crack it open, and you've got this pretty sick, really, you know, tasty sort of smoked beer damper, which is pretty delicious. I've had it a few times in the past. Otherwise, if you've got like a camp oven, you can just put it in the camp oven, or if you're at home, you can put it in a normal oven, like on a tray. Pretty easy stuff there. But what we're going to do is, we've got some sticks over there, which you can probably direct the camera to. Sure. No? I can see? Alright, cool. You can sort of like wrap it around it, like make a little spiral thing on the stick and then cook it over the fire. So we're going to try that method. And then once it's all cooked, we'll be able to crack that open and put some golden syrup on it and enjoy some nice bread. So I'll finish mixing this up and I'll show you guys once it's done. Alright, so I just need to get into a bit of a ball here. So pretty cool stuff. So the way this actually works is the yeast in the beer ferments and makes the bread rise really nicely, and just like cuts a lot of the other process out. So you don't need to bring yeast, and you don't need to have some warm water with sugar in it to activate it and all that jazz. So super easy. You just put a bit of warm beer in there, and smoke's attacking me. So I'm just gonna probably leave this to rise. Maybe I'll cover it with a tea towel or something, and just sit it in there. I'll put a little bit of flour on top so it doesn't stick once we go to do it. And there's that there. It's going to be pretty good. And then we'll just stretch that out and spiral it around the sticks once it's risen a bit. Pretty exciting stuff. Alright, so we'll just let it rise for a few minutes. I'm not too patient. We're kind of hungry, so. Something good that Amy pointed out was to have a knot on your stick and to start back from there, so that it doesn't slip off. You don't want your damper falling into the fire. It's the last thing you want. So I'm just gonna like wrap this around here like this. I'm gonna get a nice spiral happening. Look at that! Isn't that cool? I'm just gonna stick it to itself in there at the end and up at this end here. Oh yes! So cool. Stick the ends down a bit. Look at that. Alright, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And we're just going to, So we've burnt the fire down a fair bit. It's still quite hot, but we might be able to do this. Now you pretty much just want to hold it there, or if you can prop it, even better. Maybe I can prop it here and just try and make sure it doesn't burn, but you should be able to cook it. Once it's pretty golden brown on the outside, it should be nicely done on the inside too. So we'll let this cook for a minute and we'll turn it over and hopefully it'll be good. Hopefully it doesn't burn. Okay, so about 5 to 10 minutes later we're pretty good. It's still a little bit doughy in some spots, pretty tricky to cook it evenly. But especially when you've got a bit of a rugged looking fire, but that's pretty cool. I'm going to crack a bit off and I've got to open up this golden syrup though. So this is the traditional sauce, but you could use honey as well, or maple syrup maybe if you're in Canada and doing this. They're all good choices, but or you could just eat it with a bit of butter or something. You can even, if you cook it in more of a loaf shape, you can have some bacon and eggs on it in the morning or something like that.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. Amy made her damper a little bit thicker, so it's taking a little bit longer to cook. But let's crack a bit of this off. That's some golden syrup on there.
It smells really good.
Yeah. Bit of golden syrup. I only burnt one spot a little bit. It's like cake. Yeah, it's like golden syrup cake. I recommend it. If you guys are camping, maybe you can try some Australian style beer damper. Be good stuff. Whew, hot. Hard work, but well worth it. go back across. We're gonna go here.
I got this, Dad.
Doesn't need my help. These little wet footprints along the way. Tychus feel better at this than me. You gonna get down? You know what's going on, don't ya? Look, come on.